This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
And we are back. We're going now to Chris. You're on the air. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you.
What's on your mind?
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the MOU that was signed yesterday between Canada and Germany. It's kind of in the weeds a little bit, but and we won't know all the details for another 90 days or so. But basically, what they've proposed is what's called a double-sided auction, and this is in an attempt to bring down the cost of this green ammonia for the folks in Germany who will be buying it.
So what does a double-sided auction mean?
Well, so it means that on the production side, you would have your bidders, basically, who are saying, we are offering to make hydrogen for ammonia export at X price. And then on the other side, you would have a series of buyers who would be in this bidding pool in order to get the other side of it. And the way Germany has been running these auctions is that they generally come with a per ton subsidy. So it's, the businesses can find each other. The added layer of sort of government assistance is to make the price achievable for investment.
And I noticed that some of the companies involved in this foundation that was referenced in the initial announcement are a lot of the companies that came over here during that business trip.
Yeah, within Germany, they, the minister made some allusions to the security situation with Russia, and really that's, For Germany, that's an economic issue. They used to have very cheap piped natural gas, and a huge portion of their industries ran off of that, and now they do not. And so there's been a sincere attempt to try and bridge that gap with hydrogen and green ammonia. And, they're spending a lot of money on electrolyzers and pipelines. That's where the majority of German and European investment is going into the hydrogen sector, is making it themselves in Europe. And, in the maths of it all, that's kind of the way to use hydrogen. There's a really great piece by Michael Liebrich who discusses what he calls the hydrogen ladder. And shipping hydrogen as ammonia derived from intermittent sources like wind ends up with about an 80% loss in electrons by the time it gets to Germany.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because why Canada? Shipping it over that vast amount of geography, certainly there's got to be, hydrogen more readily available to them.
Well, so hydrogen at the moment is a manufactured product that comes largely from steam methane reformation, from coal or natural gas. Green hydrogen is basically a downstream product of electricity. And, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a lot of excitement about how much demand there would be for green hydrogen, what the cost of electrolyzers would be, the relative output of wind farms, the cost of electricity on these wind farms, all kinds of stuff. And those cost reductions have not materialized. Electricity and parts and electrolyzers are often more expensive and in shorter supply than they were. And so the overall case for this kind of transformative hydrogen economy has been, falling apart. And Germany really did acknowledge that in January this year when they said they were going to be building 10 gigawatts of new natural gas-fired capacity. That's the way you get energy right now, or for as cheap as possible.
So are you suggesting that selling point here are subsidies?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and World Energy has said specifically that they can't look at the project without the 40% subsidies. And this auction, and again, don't know the details of it yet, but the way it exists on the German side is per ton subsidies as well. So the economics of these cases is incredibly marginal. And, without a huge amount of government input, they're not viable. Now, this is coming from the oil people, so, take it with a grain of salt, but they've scaled back their own green hydrogen projects because the market is not there. At the moment, it looks like the manufacturing of green hydrogen is going to be $5 to $6 a kilogram. Blue hydrogen is $2 or $3. There's the potential of geologic hydrogen that would be $1. Like the oil companies will make money off it if they can, but the market is not even there.
So what's your interest in it? How did you become so, involved in these numbers?
So I live out here on the West Coast, in Searston, in the Codroy Valley. And one of the wind sites that is being proposed is for the Anguille Mountains. That it's less talked about than Port-au-Port for sure. We're further down the production line, I guess. But we have hunting camps, we have meat processors, we have tourist operations. We have a lot of small businesses that rely on the land, and it's not just a passive landscape for our community. So through the jigs and reels of it, I kind of figured I should become a bit more literate on the subject and figure out, okay, is this a good thing for our community, or is this just kind of another subsidy scheme? And really, it seems like it's throwing good dollars after bad and giving people promise of something that is not going to pan out anyways.
Chris, very interesting indeed. You're part of the overall debate here, and is part of the concern among local residents, I suppose, these questions that they feel are not being answered?
Yeah, they're the kind of the sort of vibe for a while has been, well, these windmills are going to happen whether you like it or not. And that's not unique with kind of big government projects. And, the provincial government is maybe a little bit more coy, but they did basically redesign the Crown Lands Department to facilitate the wind bids. And, the federal government is already, spending hundreds of millions of dollars in trying to advance the project. So clearly a decision has been made by certain decision makers, and, local people feel fundamentally annoyed by that, which is correct. There are even people who like the idea of wind energy. You say, well, yeah, it's windy here. We should probably have an amount of windmills. But having some windmills assumably owned by our utility, if we're paying for 40%, that could be sensible. But a huge number of, pretty largely inefficient windmills that are known to break at the biggest scale, and losing 80% of those electrons as we ship it over to Germany, as both ends of the business are subsidized. There are so many reasons to be annoyed by it. and small business owners that can't get the time of day from government, let alone hundreds of millions of dollars, I think are right to say that this is, a pretty poor investment in the region.
Chris, appreciate your call this morning. We're up to news time. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.